I'm Kathy Castor. I chair the Select Committee on the Climate Crisis in the United States House of Representatives. I'm here with Julie Raithmel, the Executive Director of Florida Audubon Society, and Mary Keith with Tampa Audubon. We're here to discuss the latest call to action issued by the Audubon Society. They have issued a very detailed report on the impact of the climate crisis on bird species across North America. Their report holds a lot of lessons for all of us on the impending consequences of climate if we do not take action to reduce carbon pollution and build more resilient communities. Just think about what's happened just over the past few months. July was the hottest month on record for the planet in history. Right here in the Tampa Bay area, the month of October was our hottest October ever since they started keeping records. In fact, the Tampa Bay area set another unfortunate record where we had more consecutive days over 70 degrees than ever before. That simply broke a record from 2018. We're seeing very damaging sea level rise, more intense tropical storms. So it's important that Audubon, along with many other organizations, is urging us to take action. Of course, our press conference is a day after President Trump said that the United States of America will withdraw from the International Paris Climate Accord. That means that the United States of America will be the only country on the planet that will not be working to reduce carbon pollution and to make sure we're tackling the climate crisis. So we've got to protect ourselves. We've got to protect species like birds. Think about where the moniker "a canary in the coal mine" comes from. Birds tell us a lot about ourselves, and their new study demonstrates that we must take action now. If we do not, we are going to suffer the consequences. They anticipate that up to two-thirds of bird species across North America are in peril if we do not take action soon. The good news is we have the solutions. We know how to reduce carbon pollution. We know how to build more resilient communities. We need to reduce electricity demand. We need to unleash American ingenuity and innovation, create jobs in the new clean energy economy, and transition now to clean energy here in the Tampa Bay area, the state of Florida, and across the United States of America. We know how to do this. It's going to take all of us working together, but I'm grateful for Audubon, for Tampa Audubon, everything they do to make sure that we keep this place as special as it is. So Julie, I want to turn it over to you to talk about the Audubon Society report and call to action, and we'll ask Mary to summarize some of the things going on here in Tampa.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Again, I'm Julie Raithmel. No problem. As the Congresswoman mentioned, I'm Julie Raithmel. I'm the Executive Director of Audubon, Florida. We're the state's oldest statewide conservation organization. And as you may know, we pride ourselves in science being the foundation of our policy advocacy. The report that we're sharing today is the result of National Audubon climate scientists evaluating both climate models and the data that we have on the species of birds that call North America home. And the results are quite dire. Their models suggest that, as the Congresswoman mentioned, as many as two-thirds of North America's species are in peril as a result of climate change. The good news is that more than three-quarters of those can have a different future if we all work together to hold global temperature increases to 1.5 degrees Celsius rather than the 3 degrees Celsius projection that has us all incredibly concerned. This is really important to us here in Tampa Bay especially because some of the birds that we think of as being most iconic for Florida are some of the ones that are most endangered. Things like charismatic pink roseate spoonbills, those long-legged waders with the goofy spatula bills that you see flying about Tampa Bay. They nest right here in Tampa Bay, and their islands are under threat of going underwater entirely. Things like brown pelicans. What would Florida be without pelicans at the beach? These same birds depend upon these islands for their nesting habitat, and sea level rise and erosion are slowly but steadily wearing away at these places. Black skimmers that nest on our beaches, even some of the common songbirds that we see like redstarts in the winter. All of the things that make Florida, Florida are at risk of being no more. This has real bearing for us as people too, because we know that birds are canaries in the coal mine. The ecosystem services that they depend upon for clean air and clean water, and abundant natural areas, we also depend upon both for our health and for our economic prosperity. Just look at the harmful algal blooms that we're seeing right now off of the southwest coast of Collier and Lee counties. Or look at the sea level rise that we're getting bubbling up through storm sewers in Miami Beach on blue sky high tides. These are things that don't just affect our quality of life, but affect our property values and affect our ability to leave a strong, robust economy for our children and their children to thrive and survive in Florida. So we thank the Congresswoman for the attention that she's providing to this issue, and would welcome any questions that you may have about this at this time.
You mentioned that the most of the effects could be avoided if we stay within 1.5 degrees, but with the United States, the historically largest carbon polluter, withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord, that's almost impossible. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the decision by President Trump yesterday to withdraw the United States of America from the International Paris Climate Agreement is a horrendous decision. It's going to cost families more. It's going to make our climb steeper. Fortunately, though, we have local communities, states, businesses, academic institutions that are in the lead right now, working on reducing carbon pollution, setting robust goals. The state of Florida, unfortunately, is a laggard, and in fact, today, it appears that our own Public Service Commission is going to eliminate any goals for our electric utilities to encourage energy conservation. That's not smart, and that's going to cost consumers a whole lot more down the road. So state policymakers need to take action there. Our job on the Select Committee on the climate crisis in Congress is to develop a bold climate action plan, and we are developing those recommendations now with scientists, entrepreneurs, academic institutions, working folks all across America, and we'll roll out those recommendations in March. We're asking for everyone's input, and this Audubon report and call to action, it comes at a very important time, helps us raise the profile of what could happen if we do not take action. It's quite dire indeed.
And I think there's also room to say that there are many levels at which this crisis has been created, and that also means there's many levels at which we can act. And so, like the Congresswoman said, we're seeing tremendous leadership on local government levels in Florida in particular, cities and counties taking action to improve their efficiency and make the shift to renewable energy sources. And that's why Audubon Florida has created our local government ordinance toolkit. This is a product available online for advocates to engage with, to look at what are some of the best ideas for cities and counties on addressing our carbon footprint, so that they can take them as examples to their own decision makers and say, hey, why don't we do this here? Here's some examples of how other people have done it. Really, Florida has always been a hotbed of innovation and rising to meet the challenges that are presented to us, and we have confidence with Audubon that the work will continue and that we will continue to see leadership, especially from the innovative Floridians that we've come to depend upon.
In fact, Mary, do you want to talk about a few of the things happening right here in the Tampa area?
Sure. Two of the things that Tampa Audubon is working on, one of them is just helping to gather data. So for the last almost 2 years now, we've been doing monthly surveys at one of the swift mud restoration sites and quarterly surveys at another one, just trying to help SwiftMud document not only which birds, but other animals, bobcats, a few things like that as well, are using these restoration areas and how they're being used seasonally. So which ones are migratory, which birds are there year-round. And the other thing that I'd like to mention is we joined with several of the other Audubons in the area. We have a grant. We're going to be doing a regional conservation leadership initiative where we will be working with providing mentors for university students from 10 counties to come in for a day of talking about conservation, how they can be leaders to help educate the community, influence their communities, work within their universities to help move this whole conservation initiative forward starting at that age, not just once they're out of college and adults. So those are two of the big things that we're working on here in this area.
Terrific. Any other questions? Okay, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.